Hey there, it's Robert. All right, I'm about to interview Ian Myers, and I'm about to do his 7-day reset method cleanse. And it's a cleanse that you only use raw foods, some juices, some blending, some salads, all this kind of stuff. So I'm recording this before I interview him because I've had some questions to myself about it, and I just want to kind of get out before I talk to him because I don't even know if I'm going to get to these questions when I interview him. Who knows what's going to come up? So I'm going to do this cleanse, and I have a feeling that when I'm done with the cleanse, I'm not going to want to eat any meat anymore after that, and which is fine. No, I don't have a problem with it. And to be vegetarian, vegan, raw, whatever that looks like. And so this may be a huge shift in what I eat, my lifestyle, and this may come up. Questions about this may come up inside the interview, or it may come up, for him. He may describe it or something like that. So, anyways, just wanted to tell you where I'm at. Even before I do the interview, I know a little bit about Ian. We've sat down, spoke one other time. Don't really know him too in depth. And so, anyways, I hope it goes well, and I hope you dig it. All right, see ya on the other side. All right, well, here we go. And for a sound check, I always ask anybody who's on the show, what did you have for breakfast?
I had a smoothie. I had a green smoothie, figs and bananas and some superfoods.
What's green and what's the superfoods? What was the green in it?
It's ashwagandha and alfalfa powder.
Ashwagandha.
Well, actually, the ashwagandha is not green. It's like a cream color, and then the alfalfa is green.
And you get the alfalfa in a powder?
Yeah.
And what's the purpose of the alfalfa? Why do you take the alfalfa?
I started taking alfalfa probably about 6 years ago, and my mentor, Dr. Robert Morris, said he's a naturopathic doctor. He's a detoxification expert, and he says, if you want to grow the muscles, he said, look at what some of the bigger animals out in nature eat. He said, let's take a racehorse, for example. What do they feed a racehorse when they're bulking them up, when they want them to run fast? They feed them alfalfa, and they go crazy. I said, okay, I'm interested. Let's dive into that. So ever since that conversation, I researched alfalfa. I saw how it's a superfood and just how abundant and rich it is in amino acids and just some of the other components there. So alkalinity and things like that help the body function at a high level. So since that time, it's in there, and you can get it in a tablet form too. In fact, before I walked over, I took a couple little tablets, alfalfa tablets, and a guy that lived here locally. He was also a doctor, Bernard Jensen. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Absolutely, yeah.
But he actually has his own supplement, or had his own supplement company. It's still going, and they make alfalfa.
Is there is it better to do the tablets or the powder, or does it really make a difference?
That's a good question. I've never looked into it to see which is better. They both have to go through a process, which the more you process something, typically the less you lose a little bit of integrity.
Yeah,
I think pressing a little tablet is probably not going to lose too much more.
Yeah,
they're both really good.
Probably the powder maybe adds a little bulk to the smoothie.
Sure. Yeah. And and anytime you add powders and stuff to smoothies, you got to also deal with the flavor too. And with tablets, you can just take them down. Same thing with like chlorella. It's one of my top favorite superfood powders or superfoods that I use. And I initially started out using the powder. I'd put it in water. I'd put it in my smoothies, and now I buy it in the tablet form, because if I'm traveling, if I'm on an airplane, I can just take a couple of the tablets and chew them up and eat them, or just swallow them. And so it's a little bit more efficient for me. And so,
why do they call it superfoods? What makes something a superfood?
I think the superfoods are going to have, they're pretty well rounded in their nutrition, and they're also they typically have some type of component in there that, like with, for example, with chlorella. I like chlorella because of its broad range of what it can do. So, for example, chlorella tablets or chlorella powder, or just in general, is what makes it a superfood is it's a complete source of food. You could actually, it's one of the few superfoods that you could live on and still be healthy. There's not a lot of bulk to it. You're not going to gain weight, but it's a complete source of, it's 60% protein, which is really good. In 3 ounces of chlorella, it's equal to about 16 grams of protein. So 3 ounces is, or 3 tablespoons, excuse me, 1 ounce, 3 tablespoons is equivalent to 16 grams. So it's really high. It's really nutrient dense, and it's got detoxification benefits for the liver and the kidneys. It helps assist the body with breaking heavy metals down, dissolving them so they can be flushed out and eliminated. So it's really a powerful superfood. Lots of good stuff, and they say it's really good for anti-aging and oxidative stress, helping with inflammation, alkalizing the body. Just so many good things. So I like the superfoods, and they're so broad. Now we hear a lot about the acai berry. We've heard about acai bowls, and I think we're always looking for what's next. What's the next best thing? Maca powder.
Right.
There's so many of them, and I think some of them may not be as much of a superfood, but we got a lot to choose from.
Yeah. Well, now that we got what's for breakfast.
That took 10 minutes.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before I pushed record, I recorded myself, and I was explaining to the recording, to my computer, that I had met you on the beach through a friend, and noticed, for one, your size. You're not a skinny guy. And then when you said you're raw, and I said, no freaking way, you're not raw. You can't hold muscle if you're raw. You figured a raw vegan would be skinny, frail, and so that's kind of like your thing. How can you how can you be building muscle? That's the myth, is you can't build muscle, you can't hold muscle if you have all raw food. So that's how we started our relationship for the most part. And since then, I've not even since then, but before then, I've been looking at the way I eat and wanting to feel better, and I've known that there's a change a coming, and however it was going to come, and it just so happened that I met you on the beach. So there's I don't think there's any surprises,
I don't either. It's all in flow.
Exactly. Yeah. There's in the big purpose of the grand scheme of things. So you interest me. That's why I wanted to interview you and kind of dig in. I've heard other interviews, and I'll put links with you explaining why you went raw and the health issues you were going through and stuff like that. But before we pushed record, you mentioned, we were talking about not having a schedule, and that really interesting us, and that's kind of what I dig into with people on the podcast, is what's their morning routine, what's their schedule, what do they do that makes them who they are. And so a question for you is, I know you said you're kind of teetering on being scheduled and not being scheduled, and just kind of going with the flow of things. So could you elaborate a little bit on that, and what's the pull from either side?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that I'm actually every day it turns over like a new stone, or peels the onion layer back a little bit more and exposes a little bit more. I get a little bit more in tune, or fine tuning things a little bit. I've always been one to wake up early. I've always enjoyed waking up early. There's just there's magic that I find in the morning, in the early hours before the whole world is really, up and turned on. And so over the years, I've generally started my days between 5 and 6 a.m. And just recently, I'd say maybe within the last 6 weeks, I've started to do things a little differently. Instead of repeating the same things every single day, now I'm getting up a little bit earlier than that. I've started to get up at 4 a.m. and without an alarm. And what I'm noticing is when I get up at 4 a.m., my day is just it's a little different. 1 hour earlier, I start my day with a walk to the ocean, to the beach, and during the walk to the beach, and I turn the corner and it's just so quiet. Sometimes there's a little fog out, and it's just a different feeling knowing everybody's still sleeping. It's different than if you go for a walk at night and you walk down and there's still things going on, maybe a few lights on. 4 in the morning, there's really nothing happening. So it's a different feeling. It's peaceful. And then I get down to the ocean and I just take a little walk, and then I'll sit down and do a little meditation and just really focus on listening to the ocean and what's going on. And if there's any thoughts coming through, I just kind of meditate on that. And then what I do is I'll generally go into the water. Most often I'll go into the ocean, sometimes ankle deep, sometimes all the way in. And it's like a shock to the nervous system and the body. And really, any patterns that are going on, it breaks it. It's like, you're up. Nervous system's fired up. And then I continue a little walk for another half an hour. And I usually kind of talk to myself and out loud, and whatever thoughts are coming through, I talk about them and just get them out. So it's kind of peaceful. It's actually really nice. And then sometimes I'll do a little. I'll get some movement in, some little sprint or something like that. And that's how I start my early morning. That's been my routine. And then I come home, and I've been fasting for the last. I was mentioning it to you a couple of maybe a week or two ago. I've been fasting for the last 4 weeks, doing anywhere from 18 to 20 hours every day, and then it's called intermittent fasting. I've been eating between the hours of about 1 and 5, 1 and 6, somewhere in there, and then I fast the rest of the times before and after. And it's been really it's been a lot of it's been interesting because I've learned a lot about food cravings that tend to come up when I'm not eating, and certainly staying hydrated, realizing just how much water I wasn't having before. So that's been part of my routine for the last 4 weeks. I like to always be doing something new or putting something new into the day, so I'm not repeating exactly the same things that I did the day before. I like to keep learning things. So whether it be like a new podcast I listen to that morning, or I go take a cycling class, or I go climb, an indoor gym, do something to like break the new, introducing something new into the body.
That's great. Yeah, that I was explaining to you that I'm very structured and scheduled. Like if somebody wants to mug me, they'll pretty much know where I'm at all times of the day, because I do the same. I got the same schedule. I'm up. I do the same thing. I walk, but work out at the same time, or work out pretty much the same place. I go to my clients, and the idea of not being structured and going with the flow, and especially not doing the same thing every day, it interests me, and has me a little afraid. And just like this I'm going to do your 7-day cleanse, it's the same thing. I'm interested. I'm a little scared. I'm not scared that I can't do it. I'm actually, because I know I can do anything for 7 days, but it's the afterwards that I'm really curious about, to see how much it's going to impact how I eat, and if it's going to change my whole thought process on animal proteins and stuff like that. Yeah. So what is I know this is that's going to go on for me while doing this. It's going to be another chapter in my book, kind of thing. What is it that for you that it's been a major occurrence, or something, maybe not necessarily why you went raw, but something in your life that has you be how you are right now? Was it a mentor? Was it something that happened in your life? Was it a health scare? What was it that
to be like where I'm at with like my health, or my rituals and routines?
Yeah, because I'm guessing you haven't always done this routine.
No.
Been this way.
I've always enjoyed early mornings. Getting up early. I've always enjoyed that quiet time, but the way that I do things now is a lot more evolved than it was even 5 years ago. You know, I've meditation has become a big part of my day-to-day routines. I guess maybe because I've started to see the benefits. I'm understanding. I've been doing a lot of work on the brain function, a lot of Bruce Lipton's work, a lot of Joe Dispenza's work, and really understanding how the brain fires and what it's wired and how things happen for us. I'm really interested in that as I continue to evolve and grow. But you know, what really got me to where I'm at now, I think the biggest motivating factor to the way that I eat was because of some health challenges. You know, when I was growing up as a kid, I'm the oldest. I'm 37 now, and I'm the oldest out of 3 kids. And my mom and dad, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but my dad was a chef. He was a cook, and we always had a garden out back. And my parents would vegetables were usually a part of our dinners. And I was, being the oldest out of 3 kids, I was the only one that didn't like vegetables at all.
Yeah.
My mom said even as a baby, she feed baby food and had broccoli and stuff in there, and I would spit it out. I just didn't want it. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
I didn't like the taste and the texture. So it started out as just early on, and as I got older, I thought, someday my taste buds will change. So that didn't happen until I was nearly 30 years old, and I lived that kind of that way with not eating fruits or vegetables basically up until 29, 30 years old. So being that I wasn't eating any of those foods, I was missing out on nutrition, lots of good stuff. And I think that was a big contributing factor to the news that I got when I was 29. I went in for a physical because I was having high blood pressure constantly, and my heart was, I'd have just racing heart and stuff like that. And sometimes it felt like I'd get some anxiety. I was taking Adderall, that didn't help. I was taking Adderall for focus, and then I also had Xanax for anxiety, and it was just, I was taking things that were I shouldn't have been doing. Well, it's not that I shouldn't, I just didn't know. And they were probably contributing to the breaking down in my body. So at 29 years old, I go in for a physical, and they did EKGs, ultrasounds, and heart murmur or heart scans and all this stuff, and they said, your body you're developing heart disease. And he said, you're also, of course you have high blood pressure, but you're developing heart disease, and you're also in a stage of being pre-diabetic. Your sugar metabolite, you're not metabolizing your sugars, which means your pancreas is weak, and I had adrenal fatigue. Growing up, I took Accutane. It's an acne medication. And what I didn't know this then, or I would have never taken it, but it shuts down, it really impacts your liver and your adrenal glands. It just shuts them down. And when your adrenal glands shut down, your autonomic nervous system is all out of balance, and just things start to go the other direction. And at 29 years old, I was feeling the impact of some of the decisions that I made as a teenager, not eating vegetables, taking medications, taking antibiotics. All this stuff was just stacked up. And at 29, I got the news, and it was, so that's where all of this started. That was where the journey kind of began. And I said, okay, I don't like vegetables, but I think I'm gonna have to make some changes here. So that was where I had to start to take a really good look at myself, what my current state was, my job, the amount of stress I was carrying, and I also lost my father to a car accident a couple of years prior to that. And so I was just looking at myself going, okay, something needs to change here, or that could be me. Something could happen to me. So I researched, and through the research, really simple, Google tells us what we want to find out. There's studies out there. People have been healing their bodies for a long time on embracing a plant-based living food lifestyle. And I thought, well, there's enough evidence here for me to be interested, but I don't like vegetables. So this is where the challenge comes in. So that was where the journey began. Then I had to learn how to eat vegetables. I had to retrain myself how to eat whole foods, whole living foods. And how to get vegetables in. It took about 4 months for me to change my taste buds.
That's like learning a language, or so something came up for me when you said had to relearn. Yeah, because most people don't eat fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. That's what freaks people out about eating healthy or eating a different way, is they have to relearn it. They have to learn how to do it. It freaks people out, and then it gets frustrating and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But there's this thing called cognitive dissonance, where some know that what they're doing is not right for them, whether it's the workouts that they're doing or what they're eating and all that kind of stuff, and they get the notice from their doctor. It says you have a laundry list of stuff that's going on. This is what you need to do to change, and people still don't do it. What do you think that had you actually do it?
I think there was enough. I've always been into health and just how the mind works. I've always been into that in some level. And so I think what really pushed me over the edge was getting that news and then saying, you're going to have to take medication, high blood pressure medication. It wants you to take this stuff for the heart disease developing, maybe even go on some insulin. And I was just like, I didn't want to do that. I had no interest in it.
Yeah.
But I knew that something needed to change. And just intuitively, I followed what I felt guided to do. And I was in real estate at the time, and I was doing very well. I was always top 5 or 10 in the company out of 100 people, and I did really well. I made good money, but the thing was it was a lot of stress. And I was in my 20s. I was I was up late. I was always out on the town. Lived in the city of Atlanta, and so it was busy lifestyle, and it wasn't really serving me. And I got to the point, I think at 29 years old, where the fun had started to kind of. I was at that tipping point where it was like I could go one way or the other, and with my father passing, I had a lump sum of inheritance that also helped to motivate me too, where I just left my job. I literally, I didn't have to think about it. I knew that was the answer. I said, I'm gonna resign from my position. I'm gonna move somewhere where I've never been. That took me to Denver, Colorado, and then my journey began. When I got there, I took 8 months off of work. I didn't do anything except for research, more and more and more. I had already started to do little things with like getting fruit smoothies in and stuff like that, but I still wasn't eating veggies. I still wasn't into that kind of stuff. I wouldn't eat a salad. I was not.
The green stuff is scary, man.
It was terrifying. I didn't even know how to shop for it.
Yeah.
I go in the grocery store and I shopped on every other aisle except for the outside aisles. Now I go in and I shop on the outside aisles, and that's where I stay. So it's a big difference. So I really get it on what it's like to be on the other side, because I'm not just speaking from something I read in a book. It took me a while to make this shift, and I guess I had to go through what I went through to realize that wasn't serving me anymore, because I was eating basically fast foods. I was eating Wendy's 2-3 times a week. I would have frozen pizzas. I was eating a lot of junk food and heavy amounts of protein. Probably spent a couple $100 a month on supplements, whey protein powders, creatines, multivitamins, all that stuff. And when I moved to Colorado, I just sold most of my stuff, moved to Colorado, started researching. I actually found a video with this guy was talking about how juicing, you don't have to eat all the greens all the time. You can juice them, and you can get more in actually than you could if you ate a salad. You could put 4 pounds of produce in a juice, and then you got enough to last you for 2 days. And I thought, wow, I'm onto this. I went out and got a juicer. Literally, I was inspired. I was motivated. And I went out and I bought a juicer, and that changed everything. And that was a pivotal moment for me, because that juicing, I was able to put enough carrots and apples and stuff into that juice every day, just one juice a day for 3.5, 4 months. And literally by doing that one thing, I didn't change everything. I didn't go on a diet. I just added in that juice every single day, 3.5, 4 months. And something happened in that time where my taste buds changed. And I started going to the grocery stores and craving a salad. I wanted to have some greens, some things with color. And I knew I was onto something then, because if I could bring myself to want to eat a salad, like I actually wanted to have it. Nobody was forcing it on me. I wasn't trying to, act like I liked something and I didn't. I actually wanted it.
Was it
So,
juicing in a juicer or blending like in like Vitamix or something like that?
I think it might have been both because I actually, funny stories, I inherited a Vitamix when my grandmother passed.
Uh-huh.
She left her Vitamix, and my uncle said, well, you should take that machine. It's a great one. And I thought, well, I have a little, the little magic bullet. I said, oh, this will be it. This is fine. And the Vitamix sat under my kitchen sink for probably a year. I didn't even know what I had.
Yeah.
And I use the thing every day now, sometimes 2-3 times a day. And I've had it for years. And so I didn't even realize the gold mine that I had there. And but that I was using. So back to what I was going to say is I think it was a combination of drinking smoothies and putting spinach in there because I found I could do that and I wouldn't taste it. So I was putting loads of spinach in, and then I would make in the juicer. The juice extractor version, I was putting carrots, apples, and lemon and ginger. I didn't want any greens because I was still afraid of them. I knew spinach was the only one that didn't have any taste that I put that in with the smoothie.
Yeah.
And so I did that every month or every day for 3.5, 4 months, and that was it. And then I started to get brave enough to have a salad, and then from the salad I went into actually adding greens into the green juice, and I started going with like bok choy and trying all these other different varieties. And before I knew it, I was just like, I was on this new journey. And what was interesting, I'll never forget this, was that, I was still eating eggs, and I would still have like tilapia for fish or swordfish or something like that. I was still doing those things. And then there was just a day that came where I was like, I didn't feel like I needed it.
Yeah.
And that's where everything changed. I just let go of it. I was actually, my body over a course of like, those 4 months of drinking that green juice and feeling really good, and then I would have the eggs or the tilapia or the toast, and I would just feel like crap. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. I have the juice and the smoothies, I feel great. I have the tilapia, I have the wheat and the rice, and I feel like less energy. So I said, okay. So it just took a little while, and I knew what I needed to, what needed to take place.
Yeah, the transition. Yeah.
So
well, that's really great. It's not like anybody told you, anybody forced you. You just kind of allowed your body, listened to your body, and actually did listen to it and made changes. When I first started with the Vitamix, I didn't realize what I had either. A nutritionist friend of mine took my blood, and she says your blood's really sticky. That's not you're not hydrated. Take some do these green juices, green smoothies, not a juicer, and put in celery. And I hate celery. And I'm like, well, if I gotta choke down the celery, I would put it in there. And then I was doing that every day, and I got addicted to them. I had to have one, and then it started to have me crave more vegetables. I've always eaten everything. I've never been a picky person or a picky eater, but it was it was made differently. I didn't necessarily eat everything raw, that's for sure. But I'm always up for eating stuff, but I was craving more and more raw stuff. So I know doing this 7-day, I'm going to feel a lot better, and I'll start to crave it. And I'm starting to get to the point now where we have fish, and I can take it or leave it, and that has a lot to do with Lindsay's cooking, because she cooks with a lot of vegetables and a lot of, it's not highly cooked. All the stuff isn't highly cooked out, so you're actually getting the bulk of it and the fiber and stuff like that, which is really great. You're gonna say something?
Oh, I was gonna say, so that's great that you're already getting in a lot of that stuff anyway. So this is gonna be something that my guess is that after the first and second day, which is where most people's bodies are doing like some light surface cleansing, just very natural. The body uses the nutrition and all the enzymes and the minerals and all the fiber from the foods. You just get a nice gentle cleanse, and that's what it's doing, is just kind of stripping through and just cleansing out. It's a gentle cleanse, though. It's not like you're sick for days on end. It's just like a 1 or 2 days where you maybe have less energy, or some people have slight little headaches if they're coming off coffee and stuff. But nevertheless, on day 4, 5, and onward to 7, people feel really good. So it kind of and you get to experiment with when foods are in their natural state and they're still in their living state. I like to say they haven't been heated up by fire or boiled or baked or any of that. They still maintain a different, the molecular structure and stuff is still, all the stuff is intact and nothing's been lost. And so the body, you get a different amount of energy from the food then. The moment it's cooked over 118 degrees, you start to slowly go the other way with it. So when you start putting these highly charged foods, they still have the life force energy in them. and all the water content, everything's still intact. It has on a chemical level, it changes the body. It changes how the cells function, how they talk to each other in the body. So it's really cool to see each person going through and having that experience and how they feel, how their sleep is, and and you don't have to do it 100% all the time after the reset, but when you get a little dose of it, just like I did over the 4 months, I was like, man, this feels really good, and I want to feel like that, and I slowly built that into my lifestyle. And so the whole 7-day reset, the idea behind it is that you just plug in what makes sense. And say after the 7 days is up and you just say, I only want to do a smoothie, and maybe I'll do the water with the lemon every day. Cool, that's great. Because you know what? It took me 4 months of doing that, and after 4 months I felt incredible, and I just want to keep going.
Yeah.
So, but everybody's on different levels. Everybody has they're in different places, they have different time schedules, partners, kids, so the main thing is after you do it for 7 days, you give your body a nice treat, and then you can kind of move into your day or move back into your routine however you see, make it work for you.
Yeah.
So
you do a lot of like health coaching and things like that with different people.
Yeah.
What makes you different? There's a shit ton of coaches and nutritionists and life coaches and health coaches and all that kind of stuff. What makes you different?
It's a good question, and I've thought a lot about that because we live in a world now where this is like the new thing to be a health coach and to be a holistic health coach. And I think what really separates me from a lot of other health coaches, and I've been told this from other people, they say, you can say something and then somebody else in the field can say something and it's received so much differently. And the only thing I can think of that would change anything or that would make me any different is the level of passion and dedication that I have for my lifestyle and the way I live. And that kind of transmits over to people when I work with them or talk about something, because I'm talking through real live experience. Like, I haven't always looked this way. I lost 75 pounds. I know I was carrying a much heavier frame for a long time, and I was eating a totally different way. I wasn't even eating any veggies. So I really get it. And so when I stand up, there's a certain level of understanding that I can understand where people are at, and there's absolutely no judgment, and I'm not telling somebody what to do. I'm just leading by example. And I know a lot of coaches, holistic coaches, or any coaches out there, they tell people what to do. It's fine, it works, and you can be the drill sergeant. But I find that with more of a less resistance, I just put the information there, and I don't judge. I just let people take what they need and then use it. But I think to refine that whole question, for me, I think what makes it different is just my level of dedication and passion for it, and I enjoy people. I like to see somebody go from to see them, they're measurable, see them going into their goals and like doing it on their time. I'm not making them do it, and I just enjoy that process.
Yeah. Well, it's all the coaches that I've ever had. They've had a tremendous amount of passion and never forced me. If you force me, you drill sergeant me, I'm gonna bolt and I'm gonna go the other way. I don't do well with the drill sergeant kind of thing, which is funny because I wanted to be in the military at one time. But so this may I don't know. I like to ask people this. What's their why they do it? Because you could not do it. Like, who? I don't want this to sound awful, but who gives a shit about other people and what they're eating? Like, we can both say they're going to do what they're going to do, and I'm not going to do it. Like, I have my why that gets me up every morning. So people, and you can go to the extent that people are going to do what they're going to do, and you can't really, persuade them or why do this? Why coach people into eating better?
I think for me, what it is that when I can deliver something and it gets received on the other side, I feel an enormous amount of gratitude by helping somebody, or just by leading by example and hearing from other people, what you are doing just by the way you're living and sharing information has been such a help for me. People that knew me growing up, I got a message from somebody earlier that knew me in my 20s in Atlanta, and they knew how I used to eat, and they sent me a message to say that they were referring somebody to me, and they were just really to see my evolution and the growth. They said, "Man, it's been really, really interesting to see the transformation that's happened." So for me, the why is to be in service. To really be to be able to be in service, and to have that to be able to give back, because I haven't always been where I'm at. That's my why. I get up in the morning and I look, and I always say, like, how can I be of service today? And that's one area that I discovered. I used to be in real estate. I was in a totally different field, and that I enjoyed that because I like working with people. But now I'm in a field where it's just what I do. It's a part of who I am. In fact, when I started learning about the area of detoxification, I went to get certified in that, and now it's what we call a detoxification specialist or expert, where I can help somebody who's sick with anything, or just wants to heal their body on a deeper cellular level, cellular regeneration and stuff like that. I can help them and put together protocols and help them to detoxify their body on a really deep level. And that's what I did to help heal my body. I didn't just go with raw living foods. That was a part of it. But the next layer of it was that I went and got certified in the area of detoxification. And I took botanical herbs and took a bunch of different protocols that helped to regenerate my adrenal glands, helped to regenerate my stomach and bowel, and to help work on my liver and pancreas and all these other areas that I was having issues with. So that was really that component there. The detoxification was a big part of it, and so now I can share that with people, and that's another part of what I enjoy doing.
I really like the why of to be in service, because that's really what has me get up in the morning. It's not the money and the fame, y'all. I know you may think that,
Yeah, but you're really good at your craft and what you do, and people love your personality, and it's always a joy to be around you, and so that's huge.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's so easy to be doing what you're meant to be doing and living your purpose instead of, I used to be a truck driver, and that was definitely not being necessarily in service. I would deliver stuff on time, but I didn't feel fulfilled like I was actually helping. I delivered beer, all things, and delivering beer and almost like promoting and helping the nonsense that I know that was going on after the beer drinking. It in a different level, it bugged me, you know. So I was like, this isn't for me. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, kind of thing. So, that's really cool. You can really tell that you're in the right spot. You're doing the right thing. There's no resistance around you doing it.
Feels good.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your ideas on not being in one spot. We talk about vagabonding a little bit before we push record, and how does that kind of play into your lifestyle and your journey of where you've come from?
Yes, travel the world.
Yeah.
That's my mindset. I've always been even as a kid, I've always enjoyed traveling, and like when I was a kid, I would ride my bike as far away from home as I could get. I'd take a little lunch, or thought I was take a couple dollars and get some things along the way. And I've always enjoyed the adventure. Is what it is for me. So I've never been afraid to travel.
Where'd you grow up?
In Florida. Grew up on the Gulf Coast of Mexico and Florida, Northwest Panhandle, a little small town called Destin, Florida. Big vacation hotspot. And then, over the years, I lived in Atlanta, and then Colorado, and then back to Florida, and then here. And I've been all over. And, I like where we are here in Encinitas. It's beautiful. California is amazing in a lot of ways, and has a lot to offer, and it's a big state, so you can always go different places and find new things. So I like that about California. But there's something about just being able to be the freedom of being able to move and go somewhere in a moment's notice. And I don't know about you, but there's sometimes when I just feel inspiration. I feel inspired when I travel. I feel something inside of me gets stirred up. There's like a fire that gets turned on and stoked when I'm actually on the road. And sometimes I just get in the car and drive. I've gone to the desert before for 3-4 days and just slept in my car and had that experience, and took my business calls out of the desert and just drive up to a spot where I can take them and do them there. And it's like I get to do that now. But even more and more every day as I keep going, I feel more called to do more travel. I've never been out of the country, so I don't even have a passport, if you can believe that.
So it's time, Brandon.
It's time, and we're like just minutes from Mexico. So it's time to do that and just see where the next adventure takes me. The nice thing about what I do is I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I realize that now that I can do this from anywhere. But it's really starting to spend a little bit of time. That's why I've been here for almost 2 years now, of just building up the momentum, so I can, when I do go on the road and travel, I'll be able to stay somewhat busy to pay for wherever I go. I think that's really where I'm at with everything now. I'd love to get up and just go for even like 4 weeks somewhere. Just drive somewhere for 4 weeks. It's totally doable.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you learned from the cleansing, or your mentor?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Dr. Robert Morse.
Dr. Robert Morse.
Morse.
Yeah. How'd you find him? And
I found him on YouTube through, when I first got started, I saw a video of a guy juicing on YouTube, and he was this long-haired hippie guy talking about fruits and vegetables, saying, about how good they were. And long story short, he inspired me to get a juicer. So I kept watching his videos, and he popped up one day and said, talking about these herbs. And he said, these are botanical herbs. I'd never even heard of them. I didn't know what the heck they were. Lined up all these botanical herbs, and here's what they do. And Dr. Robert Morse is, he's my mentor, is what he was saying. And I was like, I'm intrigued. So he said he had his own YouTube channel. So I went over and checked it out, listened to what the man had to say. And I found myself coming back for more information. He was giving free Q&A, talking on his YouTube channel. And he would address people's, you could write him a question and he would answer it. And so I was like, wow, okay, just type something in and I get the answer. And then I was drawn to order some of the herbs. And that's when it all started. That was like the next layer. I started juicing, got into the vegetables, got into the fruit, got into the herbs next, and then went down to then I learned that he teaches classes you could get certified. And so then I went on to that and did a couple of certifications there with him. And, when I took the certifications, I felt like it was natural for me. In fact, I went to the first class, and I was already taking the herbs. I had already started to do that cleansing type of stuff. And I was taking the juicing and all, and I'd only been doing it for maybe a couple of months, And when I went to the class, I felt like I knew it all. I'd been listening to his videos like nonstop. And so when I went into the class, they looked at me. I guess maybe I'd lost a bunch of weight, so I felt good. I felt like I was healthy. The first time in my life, I felt really good. And people just came to me. They just started asking me questions like I knew this stuff. And right there, I said, I think I'm on to something. This may be my purpose. This may be what I'm here to do. And lead by example and use my own personal story as a testimonial to help other people. And it was like, okay, that's all makes sense. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Do you ever do workshops or train others to do it? Because I know I do trainer certifications and stuff like that. Do you ever do any of that? Do you have anybody that you're mentoring or anything?
I don't know anything about it really. I think I'm at a place in my life where I feel like I'm in the mastery phase. I've gone through enough. I've done enough and worked with a lot of people that I feel like this is something that I see myself as evolving into more of a teacher. Just like what you were saying. So I haven't done any kind of research on that. Maybe we could talk about that at some point, because I'd love to hear more about it. And it's something I'm interested in, because I would love to teach the method and I do a little bit of that with the reset. I get to share my knowledge and information with everybody that's doing it. But I'd like to do it on a bigger scale so people can go out and do this stuff and just see how that structure is put together, because there's knowledge is power, and if I can save somebody, a year or two of reading and going and doing all these things, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I think I'd be in my zone there, because that's just what I feel like I'm here to do.
Totally. Yeah.
I love it.
What's a myth of being either a vegetarian, vegan, or all raw? What's the myth that you...
I think there's a couple of them that I've discovered, at least just through my own experience. One is that you're deficient in certain things, protein probably being one of the biggest ones. That's the first question I get asked, like, you're totally raw? Wait, you eat plants, but where do you get your protein?
Right.
Okay. So it's a very common question. I think that's safe to say that that's kind of blown out the window now. We have documentaries, What the Health, Forks Over Knives, all these different things out now that are shining light onto that area, and we've got more athletes going to vegan. Now, raw vegan, doing raw, uncooked, is a little different, because we're not eating, rice and things like that. We're keeping it really light and raw. So it becomes a little different playing field there when you do it either 90 or 100% raw. But one of the myths, I think, is that the other myth is that you'll be skinny and scrawny. And I say, I don't think you don't have to be. You certainly can be. Sometimes our body has to go through this is what happened to me. I lost 75 pounds and got super skinny before I was able to gain weight back, because I had to fix my stomach and bowel, my what they call, I was malabsorbed, so I could eat a lot of food, but I wasn't necessarily like digesting and utilizing and absorbing all of that food, nutrition. So once I fixed malabsorption, I got a little skinny, and then I was able to build back a strong, healthy body. So,
would this work with Crohn's? With people with Crohn's?
Yeah, absolutely, Crohn's, and
that just speaks to me. Like that would totally work out with Crohn's.
Absolutely, and any kind of like diverticulitis, any kind of viruses, or any kind of digestive type of issues, eating this way is kind of the magic, because it's first of all, it downregulates inflammation. It's a non-inflammatory type of food way of eating, and then it's highly alkaline forming. So the foods, there's certain foods like blueberries, they're considered more acidic foods, but once you digest them, they leave behind an alkaline ash. So certain foods can be acidic, and then but the ash that they leave behind in the body on a chemistry level, they're leaving behind alkaline ash. So
it's crazy. Yeah, I was one of those ones who are like, all right, where are you getting your protein from?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm a recovering bodybuilder, so I got to know that kind of stuff.
Me too. I was talking with a guy this morning. He's doing the reset on the 25th, and he's a big boy. He's probably 250 or 60 pounds, but he's only 5'8". Oh. He's a big boy, and I'm 6'3", and I was 250, so it's a big difference. And this guy is like, well, where do you get your protein? I'm interested, but like, how does this work? Yeah. And so I'm leading him. He actually, I got him started on the reset early, because he's had some health challenges just as I did. Yeah. And I got him started early. He said he made it 3 days, and he said, man, I was so tired, but he was tired because his body was repairing. Yeah. He doesn't know that. Yeah. And that, your body, depending on the nature of the toxicity in the body, some of us only feel it for a day, some feel it for 2 days, and some can feel it for 3 or 4. If your body's highly toxic, you might feel it for 4 days. Yeah. So he was feeling it on 3 days, and I said, that's a sign your body was pretty toxic, man. So he's going to reapproach it again with us on the 25th. So I'm just kind of working with him on the side a little bit, but it's the foods are powerful. Yeah. They really are, and there's a big difference in eating raw and eating cooked. Big difference in the molecular structures, the energy, the way the digestive system works, the way the body releases insulin. There's a big difference there. So,
well, I'm absolutely, I'm going to do it. And so, but if somebody is not in the mindset of taking this on necessarily for a whole 7 days, or they're not going to, I'm just recommending everybody to do the 7-day cleanse. Stop screwing around, just do it. But if you're not prepared to do it, you're not prepared to, like, I can't make 7 days without having my protein, blah, 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 I'm going to shrink up, right? what can people do as like baby steps to maybe get in and start with this lifestyle, and to say, I can just take myself for instance. Uh, Not everything that you eat, is good for you because you have an upset stomach, maybe gassy. Let's see, foods like dairy is not good for you, but that doesn't have a whole lot of time. What would you suggest for that person?
Somebody doesn't have a lot of time, or I think just starting out with breaking it down to like a 7-day window, saying, okay, well, during these next 7 days, what can you be committed to? Mm-hmm. What one thing can you do, or maybe two things? So I like to ask that question to people, especially after the reset's over. It's like, okay, now you've had a chance to experience this 7-day reset, and you fully committed to it, to the experience. And here's, we have your experience now at the end of this. So for the next 7 days, maybe you don't want to do this 100%. That's okay. But what can you be committed to? What one thing can you do? Do you want to just have a smoothie in the morning? Can you do the water with lemon? Mm-hmm. That little elixir, or what part of the 7-day reset, or just in general, what could you do? So let people make their own mind up on that, rather than telling them just, what can you be committed? Because in my opinion, I look at our day is like how we start our day is very often how we kind of directs our day and how we end the day. If we start the day in a peaceful place, and we start the day kind of taking care of ourselves, and especially with our nutrition, if we plug a smoothie in versus a big heavy meal, we're gonna have more energy, just naturally, and our body's not going to be as weighed down. We'll have more brain, more cognitive function, mm-hmm. And so I like to say, if anything, just choose something simple like how to start your day. Just choose a smoothie for 7 days, and then on week number 2, say, okay, well, maybe I'll add in a salad for lunch. I'll do a smoothie in the morning, a salad for lunch, and you just can build your day, build your weeks. And then you tiptoe into it, rather than just jumping into it and doing a full-on 7 days. Or you can do like some people, they'll do the reset, they'll get all the recipes, they'll get all the information, and just like the guy Brad I was mentioning, he did 3 days, and that was it. And some people, make it 3-4 days, and then they say, I'll come back and do it again. I've had people retake it and do it again, come back for another when they feel better. It's like they plant a seed and then they come back and they can retake it for half the price and do it over again. Mm-hmm. And still have the support and the interaction and the phone calls and all of that we do. So. All
right, y'all. Well, I'm definitely going to have a follow-up with Ian, and I'm going to record my whole experience and film it and all that kind of stuff, because I get all geeky.
I'm excited.
I get all geeky with that. I love doing that. I wish I'd known that. I've done a 10-day before through a nutritionist. That it was not necessarily a cleanse, but I guess it was, what'd she call it?
30 clean or something?
It wasn't 30. It was a 10-day, but it started out with juicing, and then we had a little bit of broth, and then it went into blending, and then heavier blends like with almond or with nut and seed butters and stuff like that. And I felt great. And some of the people that did it with me were jacked up for the first few days, but if I know that they had more the detox or whatever, more stuff was going through, they were really tired, they were having headaches, all that kind of stuff. A couple of them were big wine drinkers, a couple of them, liked their coffee, so they were, detoxing that crap out of them. I was like, bam, I like this stuff. So I might have a little more issue because, I love my coffee. So,
yeah, that's a big part. But, there's things like Ticino. There's a couple of Raw Revelation. They make a really good blend where they have, you brew it up just like coffee, tastes just like coffee. It just doesn't have the caffeine, but it still tastes like it. And so people have found that to be really helpful and beneficial. Yeah. There's herbal teas and things like that too. And again, it's only 7 days, so it's like, let's just challenge.
No, you can do it for 7 days.
And hey, I like a little coffee too. Yeah. So for me, it's a challenge to just let go of that fully, mm-hmm. And be a part of the reset too. Hey, I'm not going to have any coffee for 7 days, and I don't require a lot of coffee, but I like a little bit, especially when the weather's cooler in the morning.
Yeah,
I like that nice. When I walk to the beach or something.
Yeah.
But for 7 days, just letting go and just realize, just letting the reset happen, so we know that we're not truly addicted to something. We can let go. We can just surrender and let go for 7 days, and then we can start over again after and have a different experience.
It's great in all areas. This carries over to a bunch of different areas in your life. I mean, you can really take this on. You can do a detox in different areas of your life.
Totally.
If there's one thing that you'd like to leave people with, what would that be? Like if you had you can write it in the sky or have a big billboard, or what you like to leave people with, what would it be?
That's a great question, and let me think on that. I think one thing that I like, something I like to talk about is just really live each day to the fullest. I mean, if you think in the morning when you get out of bed, imagine if you just put your hand on your heart and you said, today I'm going to teach you what it feels like to be in service, or to be noble, or to be, to live in abundance, just like I'm going to train you today to really live in the moment and to live the fullest day that you possibly can, to be in service. Can you show up and be kind? Can you be loving today? Can you allow somebody to cut in front of you? Can you open the door for somebody? Can you buy somebody's coffee? Like just choosing that one thought in the morning when you get up and making that declaration, I think is can change your whole dynamic for the day. So I like to leave that one thing, just how you start your day, and just imagine if you could waking up and doing that and just asking yourself those questions, and then you turn on the mind and it goes to work in that creation. So
that's really great. Yeah.
Thank
you.
you.
I'm going to take that on. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to have all the links and show notes, anything that we've talked about that I can link. I'll have that in the show notes, and I really want to thank you for being on the show. We're definitely going to have a follow up because we got to know, how I fare.
Yeah,
this whole thing,
I'm curious to see. We'll have the calls. We'll have the Facebook page. The interaction there. So I'm excited. Really excited. We're going to have a big group on this next one, and I'm excited to see how everybody is doing. Cool. And we live so close that we'll be able to communicate easily.
I just go knock on your door, be like, "Hey, man, I'm starving over here.
You got any green juice over here?
What you got?" So for all y'all out there listening, thank you so much for listening. And like I said, all the stuff that I can link is going to be in the show notes. This will come out after I've done the cleanse, so look for it then. And until next time, stay green.
Stay clean.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Ian, for being on the show. You can find Ian on Facebook at Ian Michael Myers, and that's IAN Michael MICHAEL Myers MYERS. Or you can find Ian on Instagram at Ian Myers Wellness. And that's IAN MYERS Wellness, WELLNESS. So that's Ian on all the socials. And a couple more things before you go. You can find all the show notes on robertbudd.net/podcasts. And I'll have everything that you can link on there, and a couple of videos and a couple of recipes that I got from Ian doing the cleanse. We'll definitely be doing a follow-up interview on my results and what's going on with Ian now. And also, if you would like to get a very short email on different things that I'm up to, whether it's diet, this is one of them, or working out, or inspiration, motivation, the books I'm reading, the podcasts I'm listening to, the people that are in my life that are mentoring me from afar, aka that I don't know, but I follow their stuff. I send you out an email, very short email, once a month, and if you'd like to get that, go to my website, robertbudd.net, and you can drop in your email where it says this is not a newsletter. Also, if you like or love the show, please go and rate us. That'd be really great. I say us because it's not just me. It's just a collaboration of a bunch of people around me that are helping me out with this podcast and supporting me with this podcast. And so rating us shows us that whether you're liking it, loving it, listening to it, sharing it, it's the highest source and highest, what am I trying to say? It's quite a compliment. All right. That being said, love y'all, and thank you so much for listening. And until next time, like I said, stay green.